And thank you all for joining today on Zoom. As you mentioned, my name is Ira Pope-Perspective. Nice to meet you guys, virtually that is at least. Today what I'm going to go through is work still within my clock concept, but yesterday's class was more kind of beginner level sorts, kind of get you introduced into the clock concept, understanding the placements of the clocks as per in the room, as per, say right now, this meter that's right here, you guys are basically 12 o'clock, the back of my head is 6 o'clock, my right side is 3 o'clock, and my left side is 9 o'clock, yeah? So the room already has it. I've already got corners of 1:30, 4:30, 7:30, and 10:30, yeah? So utilizing that box, you guys can go ahead and go onto the YouTube. Once this is all done, go ahead and go onto the YouTube from yesterday and be able to check out even more details of the clock concept. So I'm not going to spend too much time into the detailing of the clock concept. What I am going to spend time in today is what we're going to be really focusing on today. We're going to be focusing on dry cutting, and the method of which I'm going to use for dry cutting is going to be a stroking technique, like this, if you can see that. Yeah. So we're not going to be just like blunt cutting like normal. Like yesterday, I went through and I blunt cut. Yeah. And on that, what I recommend for you guys, even in practicing, if you're blunt cutting, the steel blade should sit right on that index finger, the pointer finger, and then just ride that steel blade right up that line of your skin there, right? From here to here is your sweet zone. That's your 100 zone. Yeah, if you want to say 100 like an emoji with the 2 lines under it, you want to cut hair from right there to right there. And you want to cut hair with the tip of your scissors, and if anything, this kind of motion, so you're kind of slightly moving away so it keeps it really clean. Today, we're not working with that. Yeah, today what we're going to work with is stroking. Again, working with a technique, basically, like this. We would soften our fingers like this. We take our scissor like this. We hit on the finger open, and we close on the way out. Hit on the finger open, close on the way out. Hit on the finger open, close on the way down. Hit on the finger open, close on the way down. Hit on the finger open, close on the way down. So there's a consistent movement between my thumb opening and closing, and the scissor moving back and forth. If you can see, my wrist does not really move. My wrist is staying still. Yeah, so there's not a lot of hey movement in my wrist. It's pretty still. Yeah, and it just falls down, and it falls down. And so you can see also, it also closes. Let me see if you can see this right here. It's closed. Yeah, that's open. Right here we can see. Close, 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 close. And the simple thing with this is some of the mechanics that you want to think about in your mind. One thing I just realized. Sorry, I just looked over for the time and realized I don't have my timer there, so welcome back. Anyway, so some of the mechanics with this is kind of, first thing is to see the movement of it. Almost think of like a windshield wiper going on your windshield. This is rocking back and forth, and it's opening and closing, and it's hitting on the finger open, it's closing the way down. Hitting on the finger open, closing the way down. And if there's any little trickery that keeps it safe, that's not really said often in this technique, is that you need to put, just like when you're razor cutting, when you work with a razor, you don't work with super straight fingers. When you work with razors, you softly bend the finger, generally. You bend the finger and then arch through like that, yeah? So it's more of that kind of motion with a razor. Same situation with this, keep that bend there, hit on the scissor, on the finger open, closing the way out. So that way with that bend, you can see that if I were to close my scissor right there, it's totally safe. If I follow my finger with my scissor, I will cut my finger, yeah? And that's not gonna be a good day. Also, if you also don't go through and actually hit the finger. When I first started doing this technique, was way back in, technically back in about 97, but I really started to focus on it around 2000. Around 2000, really when I put all my efforts into this technique, and I've been working on it for the last 20 years pretty solidly. And with it, when I first started doing it, stroking from the bottom for some reason was really easy for me. That seemed less fearful, yeah? Stroking from the top, and you can see that, it's very simple. I'm stroking from the bottom, my fingers are pointing to the bottom. As a right-hander, my left hand's pointing to the bottom, my right hand's up, both palms face me. Yeah, so both palms will always face you when you're stroking. I hit on the finger open, I close on the way down. But when I first started, I didn't hit on my finger. And it was fine at first, I thought, until basically I live here in Las Vegas, and I used to work in Mandalay Bay, and there's a European style pool there, meaning that it's optional. Girls don't have to wear tops at the pool. And when girls don't wear tops, especially in Las Vegas back in those days, girls don't wear square cut bottoms. They walk in with their booty going da da da, Cisco song, and they'd walk in full makeup, full high heels, and their thong bouncing around. And being a respectful man, I would take a look and see what's doing. And when I didn't have any control, I look over, and the next thing I know, I cut myself. And whenever I cut myself, if you cut yourself with stroking, it's not a good thing, because you'll end up with a big chunk of skin on the scissor, in the hair, on the floor, on the cape. Either way, like 5 or 6 Band-Aids like every 10 minutes. Yeah, so it is aggressive. Hence, I recommend facing your fears, which is what I had to do in time. I had to face my fear. Initially, I had a fear that this sharp object would cut my delicate skin. So I didn't want to put them together. But then what happened was I had no control, and then they would go together on their own, and every time they went together on their own without my choice, it would end up with blood everywhere. Yeah. So I realized I had to face my fears and connect the two together, get my Janet Jackson control. I can do what I want to do. What I want to do is not cut myself. I don't want to sound like the late Prince all the time, be like, oh, cutting myself. Yeah. So put that nice soft bend in the finger, hit here, open, close, open, close. And almost another 2 more little analogies that I would think about with this to keep your mind into it is you want to think about almost like what am I thinking about? Like one, you want to think about a clock that has like 3 cranks on it. This crank moves this way, that crank moves that way, makes this one move this way. They're all in sync, they're all dirty pop, moving back and forth. Same situation, yeah? So you want this to be a nice soft movement. Also, it is a delicate, it leaves a delicate edge because it leaves more of a textured, more varieties of links into the hair, yeah? So therefore it's much softer as opposed to a blunt cut, and it gives more function into the hair too. So I really like it. It's a great alternative. I personally like it over razor, personally, for my own comfort zone. Razor to me, as far as in looking at the edges of hair. So yesterday I blunt cut. So yesterday, if my arm being a cylinder is a strand of hair, yesterday I blunt cut it. It would have it'd be like a cylinder with a solid edge, like that, at the end, if I blunt cut it, like yesterday. If I razored it, it'd be a solid cylinder hair, and then I would razor it, and then it would go like this, cylinder, 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 flat edge, which is great for up and down movements, yeah? But it's only one-sided then. So it's only really good for up and down movements, not as good for left and right, yeah? So with stroking, there's 2 blades, so it carves the hand more, or the hair, more pencil pointed. So to me, stroking's more of a hug, more than a high five. To me, a razor is more high five. I'm more of a hugger. Even when I high five, I hand hug. Yeah? So I like the support and the love of 2 blades working side by side, making more of a pencil point. So that way I can make the hair go down, I can make the hair go up, I can make the hair go left or right. Very, very friendly. Yeah? So that's my mindset in this concept and in this purpose. What I'm going to work today with the shape overall. I've gone through with my doll head. And I went through, and first I went through and cut out her nape yesterday. So let me turn her this way, make sure everything's all good for you guys. Let's see. So what we're going to work with shape overall, I've talked about, Willie's heard me talk about it before yesterday. I talked about it in theory, and I always talk about this in theory, within talking about the clock concept, as per what time you cut it, as per what shape you're looking to acquire. And when I talk about that within the, thank you. When I talk about that within the horizontal dimension, I talk about one position that if you were to cut everything at 4:30, it would be shortest at 4:30, longer torso from the 3 o'clock side, and even longer torso from the 9 o'clock side because it had further time travel. Yeah. Today we're going to work with that concept. I'm not going to bring everything. I don't think, at least. I don't think I'm going to bring everything completely back to the like a stationary cutting line of 4:30. But what I'm going to do is basically work with 4:30 as the main shortest point, and then I'll bring everything on the 3 o'clock side to about the 4:30 area, likely on the 3 o'clock side. So that way it will still have, you know, a nice deep line. It's slightly gonna be Karen-ishy in the manner of, there's, you know, a decent amount of over direction being played into this, but I'm gonna keep it as non-Karen as possible and keep it, still keep it like sexy and cool, basically. But so I went through yesterday then, and I first went through and cut out her nape. So you can see here, I pre-cut her nape, and in pre-cutting her nape, I'll just show you that like that. In pre-cutting her nape, I went through and worked basically round grad sections. So just to give you a little backup of that, let me just take this and, no, I'm gonna section this proper first, and then I'll show you, because then it will be exposed proper from there. So what I'm gonna do is work again, not off center, and I put this with that pointy center in there purposely to let it be very example that this is where 6 o'clock's at. So our classic kind of center back, I'm not gonna section right off of that. I'm gonna section more over to the corner of 430. Yeah, I'm gonna shift it over a little bit, kind of like how I wear my hat. Say like 2 or 3 years ago, I wouldn't quite just put my hat straight on. I kind of toss it over to the side a little bit. It's gonna have that kind of feel and move. There you go, Willie, just like that, exactly. A cool kid look a couple years ago, basically. And so I'm gonna just take right off this corner, and I can find the corner really easy. If you wonder where the corner's at, there's multiple things that can let you know where the corner's at. One, you can simply use your hands and your comb to find the corner. It's very easy. This is a round surface. There's always gonna be corners on round surfaces, yeah? So just like that, I can just put my comb on the back side of the head and put my hand on the side of the head. So put my comb flat at 6 o'clock, put my hand flat at 3 o'clock, and there's 4:30, there's the corner, yeah? So there's the corner here, and you can see the cool thing with that corner is I bring that down. The cool thing with that corner is that corner lives right on the hairline, right on the corner down here of the hairline. And that stands strong on every doll head, that stands strong on every human. It's very awesome how that works. But what I'm gonna do is just have it be just a little bit inside towards that 6 o'clock area, because there's a lot of drop into there. So I wanna just make sure I'm just a little bit more towards 6 o'clock. Nothing major, but just a little bit, because there's not that much width on this doll head from 3 to 9. If there's more side-to-side width, I could play more towards 4:30, but I know there's not that much width side to side on this head, so I need to shift over just a little bit to make sure I don't get too wholly onto this side, yeah? So first I'm gonna just take, just put a separation right down here, right down that line. That's gonna be, I'll comb this over. I'm just gonna take this and just comb it all over nice and smooth. I personally recommend, especially working with dry hair, do not twist and comb the hair out of place, yeah? You wanna be very, very respectful and mindful when you're cutting with when you're working with cutting dry hair, because the fact that if you go too twisty or too tight in your section, you may end up crimping the hair and then having to do more work to your haircut later than what you ought to have to do, yeah? So I'm just gonna put this over. So trying to make sure that the hair stays nice and clean and groomed is a good choice, because it will keep it to where you have less work later, and it keeps everything controlled. And then also, it's almost like it's kind of allowing you to set motion and movement into the hair. I'm gonna just take and just split this right here. So also just taking and splitting right up this top area. And on this too, I'm again just finding the corner. There's the corner. I'm gonna take and ride right off of that, just for a little extra safety. And on that, I'm gonna take one of these friendly little clips here. Trying to work with clips that are gonna be very friendly into the hair, as per not, again, making it too crimped and or too crimped and pressed, basically. Just enough to keep things into place there and keep it out of the way for me. So I'm gonna first go ahead and work with this area right here from 4:30 on to technically 10:30. I'm sorry, 1:30 here, yeah? So the 1:30 corner right on back to the 4:30 corner I'm gonna work with. So first I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna pull this straight down. Everything's gonna be straight down elevation-wise. I'm gonna be working below noon, meaning the up and down factor here. Again, just to quickly recap on my elevation concept, if it's parallel to the floor and ceiling, that's right at noon. If it's below noon, it's in graduation land, building weight. If it's above noon, it's in layer land, reducing weight vertically, yeah? I'm gonna play slightly below noon to give me a soft buildup of weight into the hair. You can see her hair's quite skinny. Yeah, it's quite skinny, quite sparse in there. So I wanna thicken and firm it up, but I still want it to have that nice kind of soft edge to it overall. So I'm gonna take that section there, comb it straight back. Straight back here. Again, below noon. I can take a look to see my length is always, you know, an important thing to know where to start at. I want to me, I gave a nice pretty hairline and strong line in there in the nape. To me, it's silly to not expose that a little bit. Yeah, I don't see the point in putting that there and hiding it. Yeah, she wants to be so secretive and she's really super dense and thick and she just wants a smaller shape. Respect. Then hide it and be good with yourself. But I'm not a hider. I like to keep things right out in the open a little bit more. So I'll take that, bring it down. I'll get good tension onto the hair. And finger-wise, section-wise too, I didn't point out section-wise about the width of a finger. Yeah, no wider than a finger. Having that down. I'm working with a loose tooth of my comb, just to keep it soft and delicate there, but getting good tension into the hair. Got more of pointed into my fingertips to have more of that graduated line into place there. I know I can go just even a little bit shorter than that. There we go. So below noon, soft bend into the finger. So I got a soft little curve. Now I can take my scissor here, hit on the finger open, and you can see there's almost a V. There's a V between my scissor and my finger. Yeah, I don't have my scissor following my finger. That's danger. I have a V, so it's safe. I bend my finger, I open, I close. 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 So with that, you get the start of a shape in there. I could take a look at that and say, okay, so I can see where that's hitting at right there. That is hitting right at the same spot of the point. So if I wanted to stay right, I could keep it right there and keep it so totally safe that I know that I could go through and cut it firm later, or I can go through and still take this up a little bit. I'm gonna take it up a little bit. I want it just a little bit higher, to be honest. So, because again, I want to expose this and this great curved line in there, yeah? So since I want to expose this, I'm going to want to lift it up, lift that line up there a little bit, lift the edge up a little bit. So I'm gonna take this again. It's right on down. There we go. Now I can see with that, I have a little bit more exposed going on there. So I'm gonna take that. 1 second, just gonna take a little clip here.
Ira, what length shear do you use for this technique, please?
This one here is the Monarch. So this is, I believe, I think it's like a 5.5.
Yes, it is. Okay,
I'm more of like a 5.5 kind of guy with scissor overall. The one thing I will say that I really do like about these Monarchs with this particular technique is, if you can see, there's a little curve. There's a little curve right here in the scissor. And that little curve is really nice to be able to rest my thumb on. And it just lays really nice. You can see you can kind of see right there, I think.
Yes.
It just lays really nice on the scissor right there, yeah? So the Monarch isn't necessarily designed for this, yet it has great benefit for it, to be honest with you, which is one thing I really quite like. So I'm going to stay, quite, I'm going to pivot a little bit off of this. I don't normally pivot off it. I'm going to pivot off it to try that kind of, to see what it looks like a little bit more. What pivoting off of it should do is technically build more weight in the shape, which her hair is skinny, so a pivot should be decent, nice in the sense, as opposed to me just taking straight classic, let me give you another clip, as opposed to just taking straight classic vertical sections. A pivot will slightly build me just a little bit more weight. Pull that hair out of the way so that way I'm nice and clean. And again, I pull right back to the same spot. Making sure the tension is good in there. Making sure all the roots are consistent in there right on back. Taking a look right back there. There's my guide of my previous. I go through. Now on normal hair, you won't see it with this doll head as much, at least especially at the beginning. But with normal hair, you can see there's my guide fell out. Just like with razoring, when you razor, you don't keep the guide in your finger. You go just past that guide and then start to razor. Same situation with stroking. You let your finger go just past the guide, otherwise you're going to cut your guide. So therefore cutting it shorter than what you originally planned. So again, right on back here. I'm going to take that and just go just a little bit shorter on it too. And we start to see that decline start to happen. Gonna still pivot right off of that 430 spot here. Over directing straight back again to that 430 area. Also keeping the hair still, being mindful of my up and down movement. Making sure again that I'm below noon. So I don't want to start going too high up. That's the one thing that a lot of people can tend to do is you get more lazy and you'll start to pull up, and now you're going to layer it out a lot more than what I'm going for, at least. And it will oppose your graduation that you're trying to build because you've elevated the hair. So there's my line again. So I just keep following. It's very friendly. I can see behind me there. And I just work through again. Again, with the hairs going diagonally down. And there's that soft line starting to take place there. Again, pivoting off of that. Over directing back. And again, with a mind that the hairs, I'm reading these roots, the hairs are below noon, not at noon. Yeah, below noon, building weight. Right back here again, same spot. Work through.
Ira, are you doing this primarily on dry hair?
This is 100% on dry hair. And
I'm sorry.
I highly recommend, if this technique is new to you, 100% should be done on dry hair. To be honest, again, as I mentioned, I've been working on this technique for the last 20 years or more. And not until just maybe like a year ago did I feel that I had enough control to do it on wet hair. You really have to respect this technique, guys, in the manner that just like a razor, it can cut a lot of hair off without really intending to. If the hair's wet, slippery, soft, you can way overcut and make it really much more textured than you want. So I definitely recommend working on it on dry hair. It grips on your finger a lot more, so you have tighter tension then. It kind of chokes up in your scissor a little bit more, so you're not overcutting it. It's a really great technique and thing to get acquired and get used to it on dry hair. To go through with wet hair and do it, you're in a very bad spot, often at least. And you can see there's a solid line there. It's soft, but there's a solid line. There's not like big holes in it, where with wet hair, oftentimes you can accidentally cut out a big hole if you don't have control. So yeah, and you can see on this, I think, let's see. Is that decent right there, I think? Okay, I hope right there. You can see on this, the nice ins and outs. Yeah, that's what we're looking for with this technique. Yeah, so the whole idea with it is almost like if you think about your hand. A hand is a really cool tool that we have in our body. Number one, apparently the thumb is what makes us really fancy as humans, I guess. But a hand is a really cool tool on our body because of the fact that there's space between our fingers. If there's no space between our fingers, it's not quite as a cool tool anymore. Yeah. If there's no space between our fingers, we can no longer cut hair with scissors because there's no space between our fingers. We can no longer clean our nose because there's no space unless you have a really big nostril like I do. And then you could also no longer let that person know you don't like the way they're driving anymore. Yeah. But by having space between your fingers, you have form, you have function, you have options. Yeah. I believe options equal happiness, at least a certain amount of options. That's what I'm looking for in this hair. So that way it just really swings and moves really nicely. Yeah, there's no aggressive, heavy line being put into place there, which is really nice. There's definitely line due to the technique and due to over the direction and due to everything that I'm working with consistency, but there is not like a blunt, aggressive line there. Yeah. So I'm going to go through and take this next one. Take that, and this would be my second to last section for this bottom one.
Could you face her towards the camera so we can see her
I
body
sure
position
can.
from? Yeah, thank you.
This way here? Yeah.
Please, thank you.
Okay, my pleasure, buddy. So, and thank you. So go ahead and again, combing down and back. So I'm not thinking combing just straight back. Be mindful of keeping that below noon position. In the traditional world, if you were to talk degrees, I would say this is slightly like a 45. Yeah, because this to me would be straight back, would be kind of like a 90 pullback. And this is kind of soft diagonal in that middle area. It's not straight down, it's right in that middle. So if you're stuck to those protractors in degrees for some reason, I would play this in a 45, if that's your comfort zone. So you can see on this already too, especially on that view there, I think you'll get a great view of seeing how it just sits in there.
Killer, man. Killer.
And that sit in there is because of the angle again, the elevation and the angle of the hair, and then also the over direction that's happening. So it's all coming together all at once, which I personally like. Again, I'm a very slow hairdresser. So I really like when I can get so many things contained into one technique, basically. That makes it much more efficient for me. So I'm good with that for right now. That's a good, comfortable start there. So now what I'm going to do is take that one up here. I'm going to take this. Oh, sorry. I have one more section here. Don't talk too soon, Ira. Okay. One more section here. Don't forget about this little girl. Okay. One more piece there, which I could, honestly, as you can see there, it's really quite cool. If I wanted, I could have a really strong like disconnection right there. If I want to be super call the manager, I could just go through and kind of point cut off from there if I wanted to make it really long and extended. Yeah, but I'm going to keep it not so aggressively manager calling today. Diagonal back, combing the hairs back. I'm going to show you from this here so you guys can get that view right there. Is that a good view for you, Willie? So
yes,
diagonal
yes,
back.
yes.
There's my line that's just behind it. You can see that piece popped out. That's another nice thing. To me, when you have the more indicators and the more indicators and guides you have, it's like the more your voice turns from like a high-pitched white guy to a really big black man, and you're in good hands with Allstate, Stan. Yeah? You're well insured at that point. Yeah? So I come back. I can see my point right there, and I can see all the hairs behind me. So I'm in good hands with Allstate. I can slide right past that guy, let that drop. Ooh, I can now stroke. And you see I also kept my hand there. This hand stays there until it's cut through. I'm not sliding it up. I'm not sliding it away. If I slide it up or if I slide it away, I've changed the line. And I've now made it longer, a lot longer at the top. And it might give me a little bit more of a, too much of a heavy layer then. Or I'm sorry, not a heavy layer, too much of a disconnect, basically, that the top may come down onto the bottom and sit heavy on it. And I'm not looking for that. So what I'm going to do now, give you a little vision on the head here. I'm going to take what I just here, which I'll put on the 3 o'clock side. I'm going to simply draw in a line to disconnect the top and bottom on the 9 o'clock side. So I'm gonna stand over. First, I'm gonna sweep this because this is slippery. 1 second. Always be mindful, especially with dry hair, guys. If you're cutting dry hair and you're on your salon or your house or wherever you're cutting dry hair has hardwood floors or anything like that, be very mindful and respectful of that because that stuff can get very slippery, guys. So you don't want to hurt yourself. So I'm going to put her this way so you can see my position from the front. Here's her face. Mm-hmm. So again, working right off the corners. And I'm going to work basically right off this corner back here. So you can see this too. So now you can see that I'm in the front of her face. I'm at 12 o'clock right now. This is 6 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm doing this for you guys to view more so. So here's where I was at here. Here's the top corner all through here. Yeah, so I'm going to draw in a section all through there. Simply divide off at the corner. Yeah, so that way I simply have option. I don't always, when I do this haircut, especially even before, whenever I used to teach this haircut in my past life, say of sorts, when I really started working with it in the beginning and teaching it, I wouldn't section at all. I would simply, the only section I would have the division point from the beginning of 4:30 to the later hours of 4:30, basically. And I would just vertically cut it from the top all the way to the bottom, or from the bottom all the way to the top. For the purpose of class and teaching, I'm going to go ahead and, again, just disconnect that off, comb it up just so you guys can see that line a little better. And again, trying to stay very mindful and making sure that those hairs are nicely groomed in there, so that way they're not getting crazy and messy and making me have to clean up more stuff later.
Is there any hair texture you're staying away from using this technique on?
I would say, honestly, in some situations, if it were human, I probably wouldn't. If her hair texture were just like this, I probably wouldn't look to do it so much. This texture is really thin. Yeah, so, I mean, you can see I can still create a decently firm, line through there. It's not like it's skinny, and I can always go through and just blunt cut this and make it really firm. So overall, I'd say no, there's not a technique that I wouldn't use it on, but I might stay away from skinnier textures of hair. Or if the hair is just naturally like fuzzy, some people just have that natural fuzzy hair, I probably would stay away from that as well. So now we're into this true back area, and now I'm going to be working basically from the 4:30 spot on over to 10:30 to this front corner. So a diagonal position. And so what I'm going to do is basically work from 7:30. I'm going to bring everything from 7:30 over to 4:30, and then everything from 10:30 forward, I'm going to bring it back, as opposed to bringing all of this back to 4:30. Good Lord, that's a major manager call at that point, yeah? So I'm going to stay away from that today. I've done that in the past, but today I'm going to stay away from that. It's such a sarcastic thing these days of being a Karen calling a manager. So I'm going to, let me just see that I can make this best view. I think I'm going to stay right here for a moment first, and then I'll turn. So coming right here. And I'm going to work again with a pivoting. I'm going to kind of pivot again too. I'll pivot right off of here of 4:30 until I get to 7:30, and then I'll pivot off 7:30 moving forward again. So I'm going to work with pivoting positions again, as opposed to just straight up and down vertical positions, because I just really like how that was fluid. So why not use that again? So again, staying kind of more vertical on the first one, just to kind of re-bring it into this side. I'll stay one more just straight vertical, and then I'll sort of pivot off of that. Combing this straight back again. I can see right there, I hope you guys can see that as well. There's my guide that started it all. I can bring it right back down, let those hairs drop out. Work through it. Nice. Work with more of a pivot again. Diagonal forward section, basically. And to keep that section in there, as per, to keep the clit on there is really nice, again, just to simply keep things nice and clean. There's my guide. Stay down on below noon. Stroking and working right through again, just having that nice, those nice soft edges into there. So again, just working, I'll turn it this way now so you guys can see. Working diagonal, so I'm pivoting off of this here. I'm simply pivoting until I make over to 730, and then I'll repivot from 730. So I bring it right back on over. Let me see if I turn it this way, maybe you guys can get a different view. You've seen the pivot. So now I bring this way. You want to be respectful and mindful of your combing on this, again, to make sure all those hairs are cleanly over there. You gotta be quite mindful, and sometimes it does take multiple combs, but trust me, those multiple combs are worth it to make it right. And again, just that nice in and out edges there, nice soft, broken edges. Pivoting off of that 1030, that 430 spot there. Again, working everything over towards 730. Bringing it all right back on over again to 430. Sorry, let me take that one more time. You can always regroup, guys. If ever it doesn't feel right, I recommend just simply regroup.
Ira, we have several questions about people being concerned of hitting the guest head with the shears. Any thoughts?
I'm sorry, repeat the question for me.
Concerns about hitting the guest head as you're stroking out with the shear.
Okay.
Thoughts?
Yes, I have, again, been doing this for like 20 years and I haven't had that experience. So depending on how close I am to the head, like the further I am away from the head, the more pure I can stroke the hair. In the sense that I can then follow through and really be consistent and be head free. That's the more pure I am, where I can really get a full stroke and movement into it. Sometimes, and you can see then it totally closes. If I'm really close to the head, of course I can't go all the way through, and say if the head's only that close, then I need to just stop at that point. Yeah, so I don't get a pure close, but I'm still cutting that hair and I just stop before the head. Yeah, so you definitely have to be aware of your surroundings, be aware of the closeness of the head and where it's located, and be mindful that, yes, you're not gonna go through and be like falling on the head. But even if you do hit the head, it's just I mean, really guys, it's just tapping the head, it's not a harm. Yeah, I'm sure you can hear that. That's tapping my head. It's not harming me, truly. You're not gonna intentionally try to hit the head, but you simply change your stroke follow through if you're closer to the head. With this, I'm far away from the head, so I can follow through. I can follow through, follow through, follow through, follow through, no problem, and be safe in the head. If I was at a shorter length and I'm closer to the head, then yes, I need to go through and get myself tighter and closer to the head. So I can take a look right now and see how this is shaping up through here. Yeah, and I want to just take a little bit more length off of this because I want to show a little bit more of this up and down through here. So I get just a little bit tighter, nothing major. I'm gonna take right from the top here. Cool. So again, truly kind of minding that we're kind of pivoting off of that spot, working over. Again, bringing it right back to the idea there of 430 area. Finding my guide, stroking through. Also, one thing that I'll recommend, personally, I recommend whenever you're cutting dry hair, which also dry hair cutting is something that I did again from basically from 2000 until just maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. So for about 17 years, I almost cut 100% all dry hair. So I was definitely I have been a dry hair cutter for a long time. And what I personally recommend in working with dry hair is that you make sure you blow dry the hair. You blow dry the hair in a very, so here, I'm gonna say this real quick while I'm here. I'm getting to this corner at 7:30, yeah? So I'm gonna start to not over-direct as far over. I'm gonna start to get more at 6 o'clock for a moment. And then once I start to get past that 7:30, I'll start to then over-direct to 7:30. And that's why these positions are very friendly, guys, as per 4:30, an indicator of 4:30, an indicator of 6 o'clock, and an indicator of 7:30. Those are my different 3 spots that I'll play at, yeah? All that mid spot at the middle helps things kind of come together. So I'm gonna bring this right on over.
Several questions about using this technique on long hair for layers.
It's incredible for long hair, honestly. It's very nice for layers. I'm sure you can already imagine it's really great for framing, for doing like your face framing layers. It's really great for bangs, due to the fact that if you want a pair of bangs that's not looking so aggressively brand new, holy cow, I just cut a blunt pair of bangs on my face. It's great for that because it puts more of a softer edge onto it. So yes, it's got all kinds of great play and great options to itself. You can already see just that nice soft shape coming into there. Now this, I'm see right here at this top area, I'm basically there right now at 7:30. So everything from here forward is gonna come right back here to 7:30 now, yeah? Still working, pivoting off of that. And being coming back to 7:30, I'm gonna feel safe for timing on this. I'm gonna start to make my sections a little bit larger, expand my section a little bit because of the fact that I want to get the shape in there, and it's pretty much stationary at this point. It's all gonna come right back here to this spot here of 7:30. So I'm gonna take this, instead of taking it in like so many sections, I'm gonna take this in basically 2 more sections just to keep it very time friendly, quicker. Make sure we get this sorted in the hour then too. So bring this back, again, making sure my elevation is not straight back, even though I'm going straight back as far as my over direction. My over direction is straight back. My elevation is diagonal down. Again, yeah? It's below noon. There's my guide.
Can we see that next section from the front again?
Yes, you sure can.
Please, thank you.
So first, I'll show you that as it combed out. Really staying right true to the rules. It's getting longer towards the front because of the over direction to the back. To quote my good buddy DJ, pull away from what you want to keep. If there's anything you guys can ever remember about cutting hair, I think the most genius thing I've ever heard is from my buddy DJ Muldoon, and he says, pull away from what you want to keep. Hair cutting is pull away from what you want to keep. And this haircut is a very extreme, fine example of that I'm pulling everything towards the back, to the back corners technically, making it longer to the front corners. So I brought this back. It's straight back. It's not straight back in the elevation. It's only straight back in the over direction. The side-to-side movement is straight back. The elevation is diagonal below the noon. Below noon. I can see my guide there. I stroke through. And you can see then with this, as that finishes through, just that nice, continual, flowing line down. Yeah. Now we're gonna go ahead and drop the top. So now I'm gonna comb everything just simply down in place.
When, as you're doing that back, Ira, how are you cross-checking? What are you looking for?
You know what? I'm not giving a true cross check on it. What I'm doing is simply looking at the hair that's in my finger to see the edge, and then I'm also looking at the hair when it falls. That's the beauty of dry hair cutting, is that to me, dry hair cutting, really, you can take away some of your time that you put in through kind of cross-checking, because of the fact that you can simply see it immediately. You can see what it does. Dry hair is much more female in that manner, that it's just so honest, really. And I'm not trying to say that males aren't honest, but yeah, so it just puts a very visual, I mean, you guys can see even below that. You see that line that's already in there, so it becomes very nice then. I'm gonna do the same thing, guys. I'm gonna still pivot right off of this spot. So I'm gonna take a vertical, and I'm gonna pivot, 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 bringing everything back here to 430. Yeah, so same exact thing. It becomes very friendly now. Now I've got the guy below me, and then I'll have a guide after I cut this one above me then too. So I'll take this first one. I want to continue the graduation, but not make it too heavy. So below noon, I want to make sure I don't pinch this into a tight little spot here too. I want to make sure it still spreads nicely between my comb. So I got in the teeth there, spreading them nicely. Coming through, there's my guide below me. I let that guide fall out, and now I can stroke. So it comes right onto it very nicely. I'll pivot off of that, come right on back again. Right back here to 430. Comes off there nicely, pivot off that. And again, since I'm coming back to 430, one stationary spot, I can feel safe to go ahead and expand my sections larger than the finger length sections. There's my guide. Again, below noon. Again, down below noon, not straight back, diagonal down. There's all my guide right there. Take this last one, bring it straight back. Straight back, but diagonal down. So straight back on the over direction, diagonal down towards the kind of corner of the floor on an elevation. So just getting that nice triangular shape into there. And there's truly the 3 o'clock side for the most part. Let's see, just one more piece here. There's truly 3 o'clock sorted there, the 3 o'clock side at least. Now I'm working on over to the 9 o'clock side. You tell me, Willie, where's the best place to view my 9 o'clock side?
Will do.
Let's see. Here's out of there. Cool. So we're right here. Now I'm going to work this 9 o'clock side here. And you can already again see the silhouette of it working down through there, so it becomes really friendly. What I'm going to do is even speed this up. I'm going to take everything from 7:30 and bring it on over here to 4:30. So again, that's another beauty of this. I'm a salon hairdresser. Because I'm a salon hairdresser, this is another reason why I created this clock concept. This makes me more time effective, yeah? And I do think it's time to simplify things a lot. So because of the fact that I've already got things in there nicely, I can just bring everything from 7:30 over to 4:30, knowing that it's gonna go over there anyway. I can bring it over, be very respectful, because it's a large amount of hair there. Be very respectful, make sure I spread those hairs out right, make sure that they're below noon. Again, on their comb and their elevation. I can see my guide behind me there, and then I can stroke through. That sweeps over. Okay. Now I can go ahead and start pivoting off of, like that. Pivot right off of that 7:30 corner. Bring that back, there's only a little bit on that. Bring that back to, again, now 7:30, because again, we brought everything from 7:30 over to 4:30. Now I'm gonna simply bring everything back to 7:30. There's my guide. I'll show you from the front. You can see where this is
Beautiful.
coming from. I'm going to simply take and again pivot off of that there and have this work right on back. So I've got just basically this last little bit of hair that's left right in here to do. That's coming back to 7:30. I'm not too far away from you right now, am I? So there's my guide. Making sure again that I'm below noon. So I'm straight back on the over direction. I'm below noon on the elevation. Stroking from the bottom to the top. I can take this very last one, bring it all right on back. Again, right back to 7:30 in that vicinity at least. And that's the beauty. Obviously, it's like elevation. You're never going to be, I'm elevating this exactly at 45. How can you really know exactly 45? So it's in that time zone, yeah?
Ira, can we get this last section from head on, please?
Yeah, for sure, buddy.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Everything back. Also still stay mindful that I'm not going straight back. I need to make sure my elevation's in play. I've got my over direction proper, but I gotta get my elevation proper, and that's below noon. So below noon, here I am back here, straight back at 7:30. I then see that guide there, hit my finger open, and closing the way out. Now with this, the cool thing, just like we talked about before, because it had further time travel back to 4:30, even though it didn't go all the way back to 4:30, which is what makes it a little bit more appealing, I think, to the eye. If I had brought this all the way back to 4:30, this would be way down here, and this one way up here. To me, that's a little bit extreme, really. But I like this type of asymmetry into play. And a great way to utilize it is a great way to, again, understand the play of over direction and what it does. Now what I'm going to do is just softly. I've got it in there. It's a beauty that it's nice and soft. I can always make things harder and kind of etch things in there a little bit. So I'm going to just simply look right through here and just kind of get this firmer in there. And just give a little bit more of a firmness on that line, just so she's got a little bit more of a memory of sorts when she's drawing it, that it's got some strength in the shape of the line, in the shape of the outline there.
Lots of questions about what if she parts in the middle or on the other side, Ira?
I absolutely love those questions. And I'll definitely go into that with you. First off, one of the cool things, the reason why there's this asymmetry in there is because of where it's actually parted off. So that's a great thing that you just asked that question, because really it's about the part as per why there's asymmetry in the front line there. So with that, I'll share this with you. One second, let me just get this outline sorted. So, as you asked, if she wears it, so here's my overall shape and look. I hope you guys like that look.
Gangster.
So with this here, the reason again that she has, and this is a really cool thing to play with, guys. So as you asked, where she wears it off the part, she wears her part on the other side. So multiple things to think about with this. For one, if you've got a client that wants some kind of asymmetry established into her shape, to me, this is a great way of doing it. But if you want it to be more kind of introductory, so like this, I made it extreme to me. Yeah, I'm really quite happy with the shape. I hope you guys are as well. But with the things of it is that because thank you, buddy, because of the fact that I I wanted it to be screened for you guys. I could have made it to where the fronts were balanced. I could have had it be asymmetric in the back, but the fronts would be balanced. And the way I would do that is I would have still cut the back at 430. Let's just say it this way. If she parts it right here, the way I would make it balanced in the front, instead of cutting the cut line in the back at 430, I would bring my cutting line to 730. By having my cutting line at 730, if she parted right here, it wouldn't have as far to follow here, and it would have the same distance then. It'd be balanced diagonally. And if I put the same spot in my cutting line at 730 back here, at the corner of 730, if she parted there, they would come to the same part here, the same length then. If she did it, if you parted in the center and you brought it back, if she parts in the center, this isn't really one so much to me if they part on center, truly. Because I don't play with it as much off center. It's still going to, if they part off center, it's going to be slightly, just slightly a little bit longer on this side, nothing major, almost together, yeah? But in a situation like this where I want to be stronger, she's a client that wants that stronger, more asymmetry in there, so that way she has it in the front and also in the back. Like, to me, then this is a great place to do it. So just to make that really simple to explain, if I wanted extreme asymmetry, I do my back cutting line at the same corner as the front corner. So she parts at 130, I do my cutting line at 430 on the 3 o'clock side. It's gonna make it the most asymmetry or asymmetrical, yeah? If I went through and wanted to, want it to be much softer and not quite so asymmetrical, then I could go through and put the back part, if she parted right here, I cut the back part on the diagonal opposite corner of 730 and it would balance there, yeah? So you get those plays with it, and then that's the beauty of this type of shape and this type of texture. Just like that, you can have really cool shapes and plays into it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial today. Yeah, I hope this was good for you. A recap again, everything theoretically was put to the corner of 430, cut at 430 below noon. Simple as that. Stroke, we're at the stroking technique on dry hair. And that's the haircut, that's the look, that's the tutorial. Guys, I beg of you to practice hair while you're gone on this quarantine, to go through and watch all the different free education that's out there right now. Also, I do education here in my loft, here in Las Vegas. So if you like the style of which I teach, if you like my approach of my clock concept, I've actually got sales right now going on for my one-on-ones. Normally they're $700 for a one-on-one and $1,050 for a one-on-two. Right now it's $400 for a one-on-one and $700 for a one-on-two for one-on-ones for any available date from June 1st, 2020 to April 1st, 2021, giving you guys time to hopefully save up money and to make this work for you guys. I really appreciate you guys' time today. And then you get a nice little disconnection and extension of things on that side when you bring it over the other side, yeah? So you've got so many great options on this. And the shape is just really nice, just classic. I think that any client would be very, very comfortable and hopefully not calling the manager with this shape overall. So again, thank you guys. I hope this was a good one for you guys.
Amazing, man. From the bottom of our heart, thank you.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you, Willie. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Big love, friends. Be well.